Hey, good evening, metalheads and rockers around this crazy world. I'm Al Ditton. I'm with Underground Noise Webzine. I hope you guys are keeping your horns up. Seriously. Tonight, I'm going to bring you 5 reviews in one webisode. And I believe that the first one that I'm going to talk about is Immortal Possession. I do not have a physical copy of this band's album, but this is how I feel about Immortal Possession's album called The Resurrectionist. This band, known as Immortal Possession, hails from Winnipeg, Canada, and has been slapping faces and tearing it up since 1989. Released their newest, called The Resurrectionist. Sticking to their roots, they still bring that old school death metal sound to penetrate your ears with great chugging riffs and a few pinched harmonics here and there, with unmatched breakdowns that only Immortal Possession can do. I like the opening riffs for the song Wisdom Beyond Mortal Measure a lot. The first song, Mass Murder, is cool too. It's got that catchy chugging riffs before the end of the song to it that just keep you going with it. The growls are very low and remind me of a lot of different growls I've heard before. But in my opinion, I believe this dude's amazing. The bass has a great tone to it as well. The drums are very clear and thick as fuck. I love this band. The third song, entitled Delicacy of Disease, has a bit of groove sound in the beginning. Do I hear violins in this song? Sure do. What an interesting twist. I believe this album will please any fan of brutal death metal. The solos are quite complex and mind bending, so this album is getting a 4 out of 5 horns. I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure this band will keep snapping necks for years to come. Keep your horns up, metalheads, rockers, and support your local music scene. Support Immortal Possession. Support the underground. Support Underground Noise web scene. And also stay out of trouble. It's not worth it. So anyway, that's that review. Now, the song that I mentioned before in that band Immortal Possession's album called Resurrectionist, called Delicacy of Disease, that song to me stood out to be my favorite because I like the technique that they had violins in there. Unless that was done with a synthesizer, I don't know. But hey, either way, sounded fucking great. Well, anyway, the next review that I'm going to give you guys is on a single of a band called Fatalicide. I don't know if you guys know who they are, but this is how I feel about their song called World Gone Dead. Holy fuck! Hailing from the United Kingdom is the band Fatalicide. I hear so many different influences by these guys. A combination of death metal and grindcore. I wonder if they like Meshuggah at all. Those chuggy riffs remind me of something Meshuggah could have done, but they didn't. This band is guaranteed to make you snap your neck in half. The vocals just rip your face off in this song. The solo is fucking insane, man. You gotta hear it. The solo will please anyone who is into this sort of stuff. I know I loved it. The bass is just as perfect. You know, it's at the perfect setting. And the drums, well, they're loud and thunderous, like a thunderstorm, which I really like a lot. With this being my first time doing a single review, I'll give it a 5 out of 5 horns because this band really caught me off guard with their talent. I can't wait to hear more of what they've got in store for the future. Now, I don't know too much about those guys, Fatalicide, because, like I said, it was only a single. It was sick, straight to the point, pretty short. I guess you could give them the 3 S's: short, sick, and straight to the point. Yeah, why not? Next up, we got Cobra Cult and the album Don't Fear the Dark. As you can see, they signed it for me. I thought that was really nice of them. Uh, the songs on this album right here are called Late Night Adventure, The Beast, A Price to Pay, Stand Your Ground, The Color Green, which is my personal favorite, Don't Kill the Dark, Forever Faster, Do or Die, What We Know, and Her Majesty. I also like the first song called Late Night Adventure because it definitely gets you hooked on it like right away. And with being a female fronted band with the girl named Johanna and her boyfriend Thomas, they're both a part of this band. Well, I had the pleasure of interviewing those guys, and like I said, they're from Stockholm, Sweden, and my mother's ancestors are from there, so it makes things really, really awesome because I really liked what these guys have done musically. They're like a modern rock and metal type sound. Like if you guys like bands that'll put you in the mood, like seeing a bar fight, going down. That's the kind of music that you would probably hear in like a TV show or a movie or something. You know, these guys can actually, have that kind of music in the background when something like that's going on. You know what I'm saying? I can definitely see something like that happening. But I'm serious. These guys are really fantastic. I mean, you got Johanna on vocals and guitar. You got her boyfriend Thomas Johnson on bass and backing vocals. And then you got Carl Sillers, I believe his name is, on drums. Then you got Andres on guitar. It's great. They're a quartet. They sound really good for what they are. I forgot how long the CD is in length, but let me tell you something. Not too many people give female-fronted bands a big deal or the recognition that they deserve, because a lot of people are very stereotypical out there, and they're just like, oh, hey, it's a woman singing. I don't like that. Well, you know what? If you don't like it, turn it off. Don't try to turn someone else off because you don't like it. If you don't like it, great. That's great. You don't need to be a fan. You don't need to support. But at the same time, don't drag someone else down for what they like. Because you're going to drag someone down for what they like, that says a lot about who your character is. You know what I mean? Because friends don't bring friends down. It's not worth it. Cobra Cult, 5 out of 5 horns. These guys are, like I said, one of a kind, and they're bringing Swedish rock and metal, that combination of stuff, to a whole new level. Reminds me of L7 meets Motorhead, and shit, there's a bunch of names like Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. They kind of, flow in that same type of category, I guess you could say. So yeah, Cobra Cult, you guys got 5 out of 5 horns by me. Next up, the band Damage & Co. I had the pleasure of interviewing 3 of these guys. I've interviewed Daniel Ecolina. I also interviewed Peter from the band, and also Daniel Samet. This is their debut album called Life's Grand Delusion. Just a masterpiece. I mean, holy crap. You got Daniel Aquilina on drums, Daniel Samet on guitars, Enian Vela on guitars, Keith Muscat on keyboards, Peter Paul Valletta on vocals. The person who did the bass was by Fabio Negro. And, I'm going to tell you guys something. Malta, of all places. Friggin' Malta. That little island that is below Italy that some people really don't give a shit about, which I do, because Beheaded's from there. Damage & Co. is from there. Viper Soup Complex is from there. But let me tell you something. I haven't listened to Viper Soup Complex yet, but when I do, I'm going to let you guys know how I feel about them. And let me tell you what the song titles are on this album. You got Truth, which is my favorite, other than Carpe Diem, which is the 4th one. But anyway, Truth, Destiny, Life's Grand Illusion, Carpe Diem, Corvus, Dragonfly and Amber, Vengeance is Mine, Gravedigger, Clenching Fists, Afflicted, and finally the last song, Reflections. They had gotten this album completed in 2022. It was just released back on February 11th on my friend Packrat's birthday. Shout out to my friend James Packrat Bates. I hope you're watching. But anyway, a big shout out to Damage & Co. I'm going to let you guys know how I feel about you, because I was really caught off guard by this. Damage & Co. Life's Grand Illusion album review. For being a debut, this one is worth listening to endlessly, as the melodies of alternative metal at its finest will please your ears. Hailing from Malta is a band known as Damage & Co., whom I had the pleasure of interviewing. Super nice dudes who have a huge passion for what they do is what I feel driven by. Their songs will stick in your head like Gorilla Glue and stay there. Hooky guitars and bass lines, catchy rhythms, and severe pounding snare drum, which basically sounds like a jackhammer on concrete, with bass drums that will bash your skull and resonate eardrums, and leaving you wanting more. And finally, the keyboards, they remind me of Thunderstone and Dream Theater a bit. And finally, the vocals. Peter has a very unique voice, hard to describe, but it's very good. I would have put him at my favorite singer of all time, along with Bruce Dickinson and Rob Halford. However, this band's debut just came out back on February 11th, as mentioned before. They had a release party in Malta at the garage that night, and I'm glad they all had a great time and the crowd enjoyed themselves. And the bands that played at the show, other than Damage & Co., I'm glad you guys could help support them. This album is very melodic in many ways because this band has a very amazing talent. I've never heard a band like these guys before, and I have listened to this album a total of 40 times. I got the album before it was released and was told to wait to do a review, so here it is. I absolutely love this band. Not just because they're friendly, but their music speaks to me in so many different ways. It's just unexplainable. I recommend this for fans of Thunderstone, Dream Theater, Rush, Symphony X, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. The list just goes on, you guys. I mean, I can't quite explain it any more than that. But I'm going to give this debut a 5 out of 5 horns because it's a damn shame. It's a shame that some of the bands that I talk about don't get enough recognition that they deserve. So I'm going to be the person who does that. Fuck stardom and wealth. It's not worth the trouble of greed or anything that hinders us musicians working our asses off to please your ears. Never let anything impede your progress, ever. I demand that we get paid more for what the cost of producing music is. It's just ridiculous as to how much that it takes to make it happen. Well, enough about that rant. Anyway, time, talent, and dedication, and a lot of devotion. I will say, the guys in Damage & Co. have a great chemistry of friendship with each other, and for the music they compose. They don't just write, they compose and do amazing songs that will have your heart and ears wanting more. I may have said this before, but hey, I can repeat myself if I want to. I really can't wait to hear and listen to more of what these guys have in the future, and best believe I would have been at their release party if I could have. But if they do come to the United States, you best believe I will be there. I believe that this band will please just about anyone. I highly recommend it that you get your hands on a copy of Life's Grand Illusion before it's too late. I love the whole album. I love the artwork. My favorite songs, like I've told you before, are Truth and Carpe Diem. But also, guys, support Damage & Co., support Underground Noise Webzine, support your local music scene, support underground music, and also keep your horns up. You know, I'm going to tell you something. This is an amazing night just to do all these reviews in one webisode. Like I said, this is webisode number 84. And finally, we're going to talk about Dargor, a melodic black metal band out of Poland. Definitely worth checking out. This is the second album. The first album, Descend into Chaos, was basically released before this album, and this is a continuation in basically the Dargor musical masterpieces that they've come out with. I can't lie. The album Descend to Chaos, I didn't do a review on it because I just didn't want to. But anyway, this is how I feel about Dargor's Ascend to Infinity album is. Hailing from Poland is a melodic black metal band known as Dargor. Made up of 5 members, I had the honor to interview Michal Kustra of the band, who handles lead guitar and lead vocals. His voice is very easy to understand from how he does his vocals. The opening song Locust is a real banger, one to please anyone who loves black metal, and with a melodic twist. Very promising riffs and bass lines to keep the listener hooked and ready for more. The drums sound crushing and the cymbals are very clean. With about 34 minutes worth of music, this is something worth having if you're into this stuff. I can hear their influences of In Flames a lot due to their melodic aspect of it. Also, the second song, called Waste What Was Given, reminds me of early Dimmu Borgir, like the song Spellbound in the early beginning of the song. And yes, I'm not gonna lie, Michal Kustra's voice sounds a lot like Shagrath from Dimmu Borgir. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people have said that, and I'm not gonna lie, I'll say it as well. He does. It just gives me that feel. Atmospheric sounding too, with the chorus synth sounds. It gives me goosebumps on the back of my neck. Has anyone else ever had that happen to them while listening to music? Believe me, it's happened to me quite a few times that I can recall, but I'll save that for another day. Even during the melodic piano sounding end reminds me of Morning Palace due to the tone of the piano. My favorite song is the third one called Before We Die, other than Locust. But Before We Die starts out with a ghastly growl and scream. Reminds me of being in a movie with a monster ready to strike and attack its prey. I recommend this for fans of Dimmu Borgir, In Flames, Cradle of Filth, Immortal, and Behemoth, to name a few. However, I've listened to this album 10 times, and I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 horns, basically due to it bringing back the melodic sound in black metal that I've been wanting to hear again for years now. And they do it well, and they do it right every time. All the songs on this CD are a masterpiece, all on their own. Support Dargor, metalheads, rockers. You guys, it's worth it, because if you don't support these bands, I don't think they're going to put out music for you. I'm telling you, support the underground metal and rock scene, support your local music scene, and also keep your horns up, you guys. Thank you as well for enjoying this video. I hope you did. Like I said, 5 reviews in 1. What a handful. But I'm going to tell you something. I got another review coming up in the next week or so on a band called Disharmony. And I will tell you more about them when I do. But thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you soon. Later.